Hey guys, Dwayne Richards here. I have got one of the very best in the business. This guy went out and smashed it. His first year in real estate. In fact, he finished #1 for Century 21 his first year. Good friend of mine. He's knocked a lot of doors with me back in the day when we were doing alarms. This is Jeremy Davis. Once again, Jeremy, welcome. Glad to have you here today.
What's up, guys? Super stoked to be here. Thanks.
So, Jeremy, let's dive into numbers. People love numbers. They want to know exactly how people are hitting, what they're doing to hit huge numbers their first year. Tell me your numbers first of all. How did you do your first year?
So my first year, I just crossed my 2-year mark in real estate. My first year, calendar year, worked 6 months. So I was, July through the end of the year. And that was with no real estate background, nothing. I didn't know anything about the industry. I didn't know anything about how it worked. I didn't know the terminology. Got my license, jumped into real estate. And that first year I did 24 buyer transactions in 6 months. And then I think it was about 5 listings.
So 29 deals in 6 months, guys. That's insane. Insane. Okay, your next full calendar year, how'd you do?
Next full calendar year was last year. Last year I worked about 6 months as well. My dad was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Ended up losing him towards the end of the year. So I took about same time off, 6 months off. So in 6 months, essentially last year, I did 35 buyer deals and 7 listings in those 6 months again. So
42 in 6 months. So
yeah, so I haven't had a full 12 calendar months in a row. This is my first year doing that.
Oh my gosh. And where are you at so far this year? We're in May.
We're in May. I am at about, I think I'm at 11 buyer deals and 4 listings. So a little behind schedule, but it's been good.
Yeah, the market slowed down quite a bit. One thing I want to point out, Jeremy talks about something that's pretty sentimental and touchy. His dad was diagnosed with cancer. And, there is probably nothing more emotional or passionate or gut eating or any of that to have someone sick, let alone to lose a family member. But props to you, man, to be able to still get out there and hit those numbers and power through and stand back up after something really hard like this. And now you're hitting big numbers again. Just massive props to you, Jeremy. That's pretty impressive. And
I appreciate that.
I apologize to have to lose someone so close to you. That's hard. That's hard.
Yeah, thanks, Dwayne.
Well, tell me this. Tell me what systems you've put in place. What have you done to do those kind of numbers that quickly in the industry?
Yeah, so I think I'll credit all of my success to door to door. So I was in door to door security for 7 years. So I worked for 2 different companies. My first year selling alarms, I was the top rep in my office. Sold about 150 accounts. I was the rookie madness champion that year, this big tournament they put on. I sold 20 multiple times in a week, which in door to door and alarms is kind of a big deal.
It is.
And then my last couple of years in door to door, I was in the top 1% nationwide, production wise. So when I left that, it was actually my wife that requested that we leave. The schedule was a little crazy and we had 3 kids. So she wanted to hunker down. Moved to Southern Utah. And it was actually my buddy that was in real estate for 5 years on the construction side. And he's like, hey, you need to come over and learn this real estate world and like dive in. And I knew nothing about real estate. We had just bought our first house. Dwayne was our real estate agent. And besides that, I didn't know anything. Like I hadn't invested in real estate. I hadn't really done much on my own. But I knew that all the habits I had created in door to door would like solidify my first couple of years in real estate. So I went and interviewed a ton of agents. I didn't know if I wanted to do construction. I didn't know if I wanted to join a team, if I wanted to go solo. But I found an agent that had been doing it for 20 years. He was making a couple million, doing about 200 deals a year by himself.
That's
he
impressive.
was, and it was incredible because when I was shadowing him, well, first he let me shadow him. In door to door, I learned that the top guys want to teach you and they're willing to teach you. Just not a lot of people are brave enough to ask them.
Yeah.
So I literally just shadowed him for a couple weeks, and some days he would sign 5 listings on the same day, and he'd be back in the office the next day at 7:30 a.m. practicing. So I learned from him that it was replicable, that I could copy and paste that if I just really dialed in my schedule. And a lot of other agents were getting leads from online or past clients, and so it wasn't something I could copy and paste. I didn't have any clientele. I didn't know anybody in St. George. So I decided to work with him and partner with him for the first little bit in real estate, because I knew that I could just copy and paste everything he did. And that was a big thing in door to door, is that in door to door, there's a learning curve of like 6 months. 6 months ish usually takes people to kind of get a swing of it. So I knew that I needed to shorten that as fast as I could. And how I did that is I literally copied his schedule to a T. I was in the office at 7:30 my first 6 months. I would practice for a half hour. I practiced the phone scripts. I'd practice the door knocking scripts. We would prospect from 8 to 11, 11:30 every single day for my first 6 months. I'd record him. He'd record me. We'd practice after that at 12 o'clock. And then I just would grind with buyer clients and listing clients all day until, I just told you my latest deal was at 11:30 at night. And granted, this was during that crazy 2 years ago where every listing was getting 12 offers,
Right.
and you had to beat out every offer. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew that there were agents that were doing well. And so I'd go interview them and take them to lunch and just question them and figure out how to quicken that learning curve. And granted, during that crazy time, there's a lender in town that he knew. He always says he's super nice, but if Jeremy or someone else on his team submitted an offer, I 100% knew it was getting accepted. And it was crazy to me because I had no experience in real estate, but because I had like really invested in pulling all that knowledge from the top agents, that learning curve disappeared within like 3 or 4 weeks. And I was just swinging right out of the gate.
That's awesome. How many contacts would you say you're doing? Because one thing I want to point out, Jeremy's grinding. We're talking 7:30 in the morning until, 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, he's still writing offers. How many contacts were you making a day?
Those first 6 months, the goal was 40 contacts a day.
Awesome. So 200.
So 200 a week. And right now I'm 25 to 30 is kind of the goal.
Guys, and I think that's a big thing that you look at. A lot of people look back at my first year when I sold 89 homes, and I was doing the same type of hours. Jeremy was on track. If he would have worked a full year, he would have hit right at those numbers. But it's repetition, it's hours, it's learning the content. Anybody that's watched this channel, anybody that's been in my coaching, I ask you to record all the time. You just heard Jeremy say that. They recorded each other and they went back and dissected it. So on door to door, when we went door to door selling alarms and stuff, that was the worst thing in the world to have someone shadow you, because you can't stop in the middle of a pitch and go, oh, I said this because they went here.
Right.
You can't stop, but I can take and dissect every approach you give and tell you exactly where you went wrong or what you should have said or what they were thinking when you said this. And it's so important that you get to the point where you can diagnose and figure out what you're doing on doors at that level. Because once you figure it out, you're going to hit home runs.
Yeah. And I'll add to that. Again, I think that's the door-to-door culture. It's not a real estate culture. There's not many agents that understand the importance of recording and practicing, going over your scripts, practicing twice a day. It doesn't seem to be the culture from what I'm learning with all the agents and brokerages I've been to. But in door to door, that was the culture. You practiced every day. You role played every day. You recorded, and you would role play at 11:30 at night when you get back from the doors. So if you can bring that over, and you can replicate it, if you've done door to door sales, or if you haven't and you're in real estate right now, that mentality, if you can learn it and ask those that have done door to door and just replicate it, man, it's just, for me so far, it's been great. it's brought a lot of success, just literally copying that culture of the growth.
I think that's the big thing. A lot of people in real estate, and Jeremy, you're seeing this as well. They say they do door to door. They don't do door to door. Doing door to door is getting out there and knocking for 8 hours a day, hitting 200 contacts by going door to door. Most people in real estate, when they say, oh, I do door to door, they'll knock for an hour. They knock for 2 hours. They knock around an open house. And that's maybe once every 2 weeks, once a week. That's door to door. And countless. I mean, you watch all the different people on YouTube that say they do door to door. They're not doing door to door at the level that Jeremy and I have done this. I mean, Jeremy, how many doors would you say you've knocked in your career door to door?
Oh, geez. Let's see. Last couple of years, top production, the amount of days, I was probably not 500. I would close one deal every 3 doors I'd knock, selling 250. I don't know, thousands. I don't even know how you could comprehend that. Thousands of doors.
It's tens of thousands. I would guarantee you by the time you went out and knocked all your alarm doors, and now you've got 7 years of door knocking under your belt.
Right.
There's no way in heck that you haven't
Pretty
knocked
close
tens of thousands of doors. And doing that, you learn to read people, you learn to read systems, you learn all about the sell, the grind, what works, what doesn't work, how to be effective, and how to help people. And I think that's the biggest thing. I've said this before, and Jeremy's probably felt the same thing. There are so many people that I've met at the closing table and said, Dwayne, thank you for knocking on my door. We never would have done this had we not met you. And this is the best decision we've ever made. You really get to help people when you get out there and get face to face with them. Jeremy, give me a couple of takeaways. Just new people that's watching this video. What are some of the things you would say are must-dos right now in order for them to succeed?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this a lot, and I think there's really like 4 or 5 things that I'd recommend. One is to quicken the learning curve. Even if you've been doing this a couple of years, there are guys that are faster, they're more efficient, and you can learn from them. Like shorten that learning curve. It shouldn't take you several years to get the hang of this, to do a high production. So one would be learning curve. Like,
Jeremy, can I pause you there?
Guys. Yeah.
Do you have a coach?
I do have a coach. I have multiple coaches.
Really? So a guy like you that's selling high volume still pays to have a coach?
Yep. I've got a nutrition coach, a business coach, and a life coach.
How amazing. Okay, keep going.
So yeah, that's a great point. Like, a part of the process of quickening the learning curve is to get a coach. Even like athletes, every top athlete in the world has a coach, and they have multiple coaches, right? Like LeBron James, Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, like they've all had high level coaches, and they spend a lot of money. So that would be number one. Number two is copy and paste. Like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel in real estate. People have figured this out. Like, literally go talk to them, go to the masterminds, pick up a coach, do these trainings, and just copy and paste. Like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Third thing would be ask questions and practice. I practice in the mornings for listings, for prospecting, and then I practice in the afternoon on buyer objections. Most of my afternoons are with buyers. So I practice those objections every day. So developing your schedule, lots of practicing. The next thing would be to just grind and be available. Like, just grind. Like, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit in real estate that I've come to realize. And it's usually the first to get to that person. So if you're grinding and you're available, you'll get those listings, you'll get those buyer clients. I had a client that came into town recently. He said, hey, I've got an appointment with 5 different realtors. I don't want to commit. I said, that's totally fine. Let's meet. And if I'm not a good fit, then it is what it is. And so I met with them, and we had such a good experience at that house. I pulled up the MLS. We pulled up all the houses. I called all the agents on the spot, made the appointments, took them to the appointments, find a house, wrote a contract, got accepted same day. And it's just because I was available, and I'm used to grinding, and people love that. I've learned in real estate that clients want a leader, and if you're available and you grind, they'll use you. They'll use you. Then I'd say my last thing is just take anything you can get. Like in Southern Utah, a lot of agents don't want to go up to Cedar City, or they don't want to go 30 minutes away. It's like, no, like that one client from a 45-minute drive could lead to 2 listings. It could lead to a client that gives me 4 referrals that year. Like, just grind and take everything that comes your way. A lot of agents don't want to do the 300,000, 200,000 price range, but sometimes those clients are expressive, and the expressives are those that give referrals. So sometimes you'll take that low hanging fruit, and you'll get a lot of deals out of that. So just being like, just willing to take whatever comes your way, and never shy away from a deal. That's how you just grow and do a lot of production.
No, that's amazing. You guys, you're learning a ton from Jeremy, and he was able to spout those off so easy and fluid because they're ingrained. He knows if you do those simple things, your business will explode. And props, Jeremy, that you figured it out so quickly in the business. You guys,
I appreciate it.
Getting a coach is so important. Jeremy just joined our coaching program. You can be coached by Jeremy, be on the group calls with me. This coaching is essential. So if you can take and rip off and reuse exactly what Jeremy's done and sell 50 homes a year, would you do it? And what's holding you back? I mean, that's some of the big things that I ask each and every person out there. It is so duplicatable. I know without a doubt. You guys saw on the Brandon Mulrennan show of the person that I trained that wrote it on 3x5 recipe cards. And they would pull it out of their pocket and they would read exactly what I told them to say. And that person's now selling $30 million a year in real estate 5 years later. So it is so duplicatable. Get with people that are going to train you. Go to our website, www.reald2d.com. Check things out there. Reach out to me or Jeremy, and we'd love to help you get going and build your real estate career. Honestly, Jeremy's just talking about this. Both of us feel the same way. We love to get back and we love to see people be crazy successful. So if you want that success, come chat with us. We'd love to answer any questions for you and help build out your vision for life and then help you accomplish it. So anyway, thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate you being on today and look forward to working a lot more. You guys are going to see a lot more videos from Jeremy here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and then watch, because we're going to teach you some explosive things that are going to change your business. So thanks for being here.
Thanks, guys.